God does not spare angels when they sin.
Welcome back, guys, and today I wanted to dive into witchcraft movies, and specifically movies that are revolving around witches. The Lords of Salem is a 2012 movie directed by Rob Zombie, and it's starring the usual Rob Zombie cast, like his wife Sherry Moon, and Jeff Daniel Phillips, and Judy Geeson, just to name a few. So I was trying to think of the different kind of movies I could have reviewed or talked about. One of the obvious choices would have been The Witch by Robert Eggers, which is one of my favorite witch movies, and it might actually be my favorite, but I thought, no, let's talk about something that no one really talks about a whole lot, and that is Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem. And a lot of Rob Zombie's movies kind of get neglected and overlooked, mostly for good reason. So my history with this movie is I watched it for the first time 2 years ago, and now I rewatched it again, and I feel like I'm just more confused on the second viewing, and I have a lot more questions too. Like, I just didn't understand it even more. A radio DJ in Salem, Massachusetts is plagued by nightmarish visions of vengeful witches after she plays this record by this mysterious group known only as the Lords. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Rob Zombie's movies or him as a filmmaker. I love his music. I think he's a great musician, and I think he's also super talented behind the camera. And as a cinematographer, visually, that guy just has it. He just knows what looks good, what looks aesthetic on camera, and how to create a really good atmosphere. But his writing, for those of you who are not familiar with Rob Zombie's work, his writing is not good most of the time. And his characters are always the same gutter trash, hillbilly type of people that you just want to scream out for your mommy to come and save you because you just don't feel safe. You feel like these people are going to spit on you and they're going to touch you in inappropriate places that you don't want to be touched in. And it just makes you super uncomfortable to watch and be around. And it's just like, it makes you feel like you have to take a shower after watching one of his movies. I mean, his characters do some real nasty shit sometimes, like real nasty. But one of the things I do admire about Zombie is that you could tell that he is super passionate about the horror genre. I mean, I watched countless interviews with him talking about the Universal monster movies or his biggest influences in German Expressionism and things like that, Nosferatu. And it's really surprising because when you watch his films, he says he's really inspired by classic Hollywood, but you just don't really feel that in his influences and in his work. And the fact that he is a big fan of the Universal monster movies, like I said, is a huge draw for me because I obviously am a huge fan as well, especially of the Wolfman, like I talked about. Other influences on Rob Zombie's career, especially in his Firefly trilogy, is the Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw influence. It's so clear, especially in House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects, that he is trying to go for this grindhouse, 70s horror, nasty look. And he just kind of does that for all of his movies. But I want to talk about this movie specifically because not only is it one of the witch movies that I feel like is underrated, I think it's one of Rob Zombie's most underrated movies. It's definitely, I don't know if I could call it really a good movie because it's style over substance. And if you're looking for a movie that is kind of meaningless and that you're going to watch and be like, what the fuck am I watching? Then this might be for you. This is the only Rob Zombie movie that feels restrained. And if you guys know what that means, it means that it doesn't have all the Rob Zombie-isms that usually are in his movies, like the gutter trash, like characters. Like, I guess you still get like a hint. You get like a little whiff, but you don't get the full-on gutter trash, like, you know, skunk just sprayed his load up into your nostrils type of thing, you know? And usually all of Rob Zombie's movies look gorgeous. They're shot wonderfully, like I said. He just knows what to do behind the camera, and I don't know if he does his own cinematography. I don't know if he works with the same person over and over again, but they always have the same look to them most of the time. Besides this movie and his Halloween movies do look slightly different than the rest of his filmography. This is the most polished of his filmography. Polished as in his best work, probably. I mean, I do like The Devil's Rejects. I think what he did with the Firefly trilogy is has become iconic. There's still moments when I'm watching his movie, even in those movies, that I'm just like, it's just gross. It's just too much for me. And I think if you gave this man a really good script and let him film it and direct it, I think he could go places that are going to be really good. Just don't let this man write. You know, just if he's like wanting to change things in the script, it's a no-go. Don't let him do it. Having to listen to the dialogue does make me cringe a little bit in all of his movies, but this one is like the least cringy out of all of them. The music also very well done. I forgot who it said. I think it was John Five, I believe. It was like one of the people that did the score for this movie. Not really familiar with their work, but it's very creepy. It had the kind of same musical tone playing over and over again, or musical theme. I'm not really sure what you call it. Very atmospheric, especially when it's shot in the apartment building. Very gray, very dark looking, and then you have the swinging lights. It just has, and deep shadows, like I said, very expressionistic. And Cherry Moon Zombie actually isn't terrible in this movie, which is great. She actually is pretty alright. Her acting sometimes is not too great, and it seems that she only acts when she is in her husband's films, so I mean, that's true love, I guess. I don't know what the hell she even got on her forehead there. She kind of looks like the Crow with Brandon Lee if he had dreads. It's a Rob Zombie movie, in and out. I mean, it feels still like a Rob Zombie movie, even though it feels the least like a zombie movie out of all of them. You could tell, I mean, this one was backed by Blumhouse, too, so it had that influence on it, too, whereas mostly he was working kind of independently, except for House of a Thousand Corpses, where he started out at Universal. But most of his career, and minus the Halloween movies he did, he's kind of worked independently. So the visuals in this movie are just batshit crazy. Once you get to the end, you're like, what am I even looking at? She looked like she was getting humped by one of the members of Kiss at one point. Maybe it was the Gene guy, the guy with his like tongue. It was weird. Rob Zombie is really trying to like flex his wife. He's like always like showing her off, like basically just like naked, and I'm like, we don't have to do this, Rob. The three witches in this movie are also super creepy, and actually one of the witches looks like the one witch from Hocus Pocus, if you know what I'm talking about. Sid Haig's in this movie, you know, Rob Zombie, one of his best buddies, I guess, that he always had in his movies, R.I.P. Oh my god. I just remembered something. So there's this scene in a church with this priest, and if you do watch the movie, I won't spoil it, but it's basically like where the priest like grabs her head and wild. I think the witches spit on a baby at one point. I don't know. Cherry Moon Zombie's like smoking crack or something. I don't even know what's going on. If you are looking for more style over substance and you just want kind of a creepy movie to put on in the background, this is only like an hour and a half long, so it's pretty quick. Put it on if you're looking for an underrated witch movie. That's why I wanted to bring it up. This movie doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, so definitely give it a try if you like witch movies. And also, if you don't want to watch Hocus Pocus for the millionth time, I'm going to give the movie 2 1/4 stars out of 5. I had to think about that for a second. Yep, that sounds about right. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode of 31 Days of Horror.